Good evening. This is meteorologist DT with the Wednesday evening, February 28th, Snowstorm Podcast. It's 11 o'clock here in the east, 8 p.m. West Coast time. And a lot to talk about. We have two potential events. Obviously, the significant nor'easter coming up here for March 1st on Friday evening, and then potentially another event for March 6th. So let's get right to it. We'll start out by taking a look here at the snowstorm matrix. And as you can see, for I-95 area, we have a minor event coming up here. This is obviously the nor'easter coming up here. So this green for I-95, minor snowfall, nothing significant possible, even though, and again, that's only for certain areas. We'll get into that in a little bit. And the interior northeast, the Poconos, the Catskills, northwest New Jersey, southeastern New York, northwestern Connecticut, western Massachusetts, potential for significant snowfall here. Then, as you can see, there's a little bit of something here, maybe for the March 6th type of event, maybe March 7th, and the rest of the time frame, things are pretty insignificant. So we'll start by taking a look at the overall pattern here, and obviously the big feature is the two features. There's this one here, which is the southern shortwave, and then this is the block right here. So we can see our jet stream. Here comes the next piece coming down this way, but the energy is going like this. And we still have our southeast ridge here a little bit, as you can see, but the block will continue to move this direction, which will push the southeast ridge down, and this feature will move to the coast and become the nor'easter. So let's see how this develops. So this is the 24-hour map. This is again the 12Z Wednesday afternoon European model looking at, and here's the block right here. You can see it, and there's our main shortwave. There's one piece of energy here, the northern jet stream, and the Pacific jet is here. So these two features are going to merge here and become a big storm off the coast. And then there's our huge west coast trough right here. That's potentially the next system. Now this is at 36 hours, and what's happened here is the block continues to move. As you can see, there's our blocking feature. But now what's happened is we've gone from the north piece of energy has now moved in and lined up with this one. So we essentially have a negatively tilted trough right here. And this is a very good position for an East Coast storm low pressure area to develop. It's a very good position. Maybe a little negative too far to the west of the mountains, but overall it's a pretty good position. Now what we don't have is we don't have a 50-50 low. So as a result, the primary low is going to stay pretty strong and push fairly far to the inland. You'll see that in a minute when we get to the surface maps. And now this here is, of course, Friday morning. The system is about to close off Friday morning. You can see the severe negative tilt right here. We're about to get a closed 500 low, but we don't have a 50-50 low here over southeastern Canada, and we do have this Greenland block feature. So this system is being forced to go underneath it, and then it bombs out here. So we can see what this looks like on the European model, and here's our primary low already. Notice it's about 999 millibars. And this is Thursday night, tomorrow night. So it's here, I don't know, southeastern Ohio, near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And the secondary low is developing here. So this is still pretty far to the north. Typically, you want your low pressure areas to weaken when it gets to Kentucky. 999 millibars is very strong for a primary low. And as a result, this drives southeast winds. And you can see the snow line moves north of New York City, north of up towards Buffalo, north of New England, because of the southeast winds here. So that's a problem. And the reason why we have that primary low here is because we have no big 50-50 low over southeastern Canada. So that's the other reason. All right, so then we go beyond this. We take a look at what happens next. Now this is the European model. Again, this is from early Wednesday morning, but the afternoon European 12Z1 is about the same. We can see by Friday morning, the low is now developed into a consolidated low. The primary low is filled in. But the purple line here shows the rain snow line. So you can see it's well to the west of New York City and Boston, but it's over Philadelphia at this point. And we're getting, you see the southeast winds here, getting this east winds, that drives the warm air in. Now normally the New England coast, because it sticks out like that, usually gets a big snowstorm, because when the low bombs out off of Cape Cod, they're sticking out in the landmass, and they're still getting the snow, while New York City and Philadelphia miss the snow. Typically that's what happens, but in this case, as you can see, the New England coast, you see how it sticks out here like this. So what happens is the southeast winds drive inland, and it forces the rain snow line all the way in towards Albany. And we can see this by 1 p.m. on Friday. We can see that the definitely has pushed inland. The warm air is pushed. Look at that, all the way in towards past the New York State border. The rain snow line is pushed inland from here to here on the east wind, and that's because the low is so close to Cape Cod. Now the snow line is actually still west of New York City, but the Poconos, northwestern New Jersey, the Catskills are getting hammered with snow, and the snow might get into Philadelphia a little bit here. Philadelphia is going to be pretty close to it. Certainly, Allentown looks like they could get snow out of it. Willow Grove, maybe Reading, Pennsylvania. Now, let's take a look at this in more detail. This is the 12Z NAM, and we can see this 3 kilometer. We can see Friday morning. Now notice here what the rain snow line is. The rain snow line, you can see it right here. So again, we can see these howling east winds affecting the New England coast. See that coastline? Just slamming it in there, so it pushes the rain snow line towards the western Massachusetts New York border, well to the northeast of New York City, up to Poughkeepsie. Even there's Philly. This is all Poconos, heavy snow the Poconos, maybe towards Allentown, Catskills, all this getting slammed with the big snow. Notice Philadelphia, Wilmington, Delaware, New Jersey's all rain at this point. Now by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, what's happened is that the low, which if you recall was here on the Connecticut coast. There, you see where it is Friday morning. Now look where it is. Friday 3 p.m. It comes to the south, and because the low is drifting to the south, it pulls the cold air southward. So the low is coming down this direction, and as a result, we can see that the rain snow line is now pushed east of New York City. If you can believe that, Friday 3 p.m. This is now snowing in Philly, snowing in coastal Jersey, snowing in Salisbury, Maryland potentially, or Dover. And you can see the cold air being pulled southward because the low is coming southward. Meanwhile, eastern Massachusetts, Connecticut, Long Island, all getting heavy, heavy rain. And the rain is going to be quite impressive here, as will the wind. This is going to be a major storm. And then our Friday 6 p.m., the system is winding down, but it's still snowing in Philly. According to this, it might be snowing heavily in Philadelphia and in New Jersey, Atlantic City. Moderate snow coming to an end in New York City. A lot of snow potential in this area, and in this area here too, Friday afternoon. Now the ground's going to be wet and so on and so forth. I don't know how much snow is going to fall, but I do think it's going to go over to snow here on Friday. If we look at the winds, we can clearly see the winds here. This is Friday evening as the low 975 is bombing out off the Maryland coast here. You can see it's there's Salisbury, Maryland, and this here is Cape Cod. So it's almost in that same location. And look at these strong winds here. Some of this purple stuff here is 50, 60, 55, 60 knots, near hurricane force on the coast. Very impressive storm. The afternoon European ensemble generally agrees. Notice what it does here. The purple line again is the rain snow line at 850 millibars, or 1 mile above the ground. So of course your low level temperatures with those strong east winds will probably be in the mid to upper 30s. So you simply can't use the purple line or the 850 millibars line to forecast your rain or snow. So Friday morning, as you can see, the 32-degree line is still way back here. You see where it is? The 32-degree line way back here. That's because of those east winds pushing it back inland. But over the higher elevations, it might be 32, 33 degrees, like I said, in Poconos, maybe Allentown, Binghamton, the Catskills. Now Friday 1 p.m., we can see here, the rain snow line is now pushed well to the east of New York City. So even though the 32-degree line is up here, New York City might be getting snow at 33, 34 degrees. Is it sticking? Probably not. But Hudson Valley, northwest New Jersey, maybe western Massachusetts, the mountains in northwest Connecticut, it could be snowing there. And then this is 7 p.m. on Saturday evening. The low is now off the coast, and the cold air still snowing to the west of New York City a little bit by 7 p.m. So that's when they could get more snow there. Okay, that's what the European ensemble is showing. Look at the rainfall on this is the brand new NAM. This is the 0Z Thursday. You can see very impressive precipitation amounts coming on of these strong east and southeast winds. That's 4, 5, 6 inches of rain. Now that's probably overdone, but and notice the dry slot here over Northern Virginia, D.C. So there's your sinking air, and this is the rising air right in here. And again, it's probably overdone, but 3, 4 inches of rain in New England seems very possible. Okay, if we look at the snowfall maps, we can see, This is, again, the new 0Z Thursday NAM. Look what it's doing here, total snowfall. All the snow is in the higher terrain. Western Massachusetts, southern Vermont. And then here's the Hudson Valley, very little snow here. And then notice Binghamton, Poconos, big snow up in this area. All the way back into here. That's where the snow is. Notice there's a little bit of feeder snow towards Philly. So, like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if the Philly suburbs got a couple inches of wet snow out of this. Not another question. This here's the European model showing the same sort of thing. Now, it doesn't have the snow down into Philly or the Philly suburbs, but it's not far away. And again, you can see that the best snows clearly over the higher terrain in these areas. And again, the Hudson Valley doesn't see much because they're at lower elevation. This here is the 0Z NAM, and again the 12-kilometer NAM. Notice here that as of Friday morning, again the low is pretty strong right here, and the rain snow line is well up. Look at that, well north of Boston, almost into Albany, well close to, I don't know, far northwest Connecticut, up to here north of Poughkeepsie and northwest New Jersey. And if we clear that out and we go the next slide here, now this is Friday evening, 7 p.m. The lows come south as forecasted. It's come due south like this, and it's pulled the cold air southward. Now New York City's all snow. Maybe Boston's gone back to snow, or it is snowing now. New York City got snow. Philly has snow. Dover has snow. Atlantic City has snow. The Catskills, northwest Connecticut, western Massachusetts could see. That's when they're going to see their snow on Friday afternoon and Friday evening. And if we look at the snow 12Z, look at the 12-kilometer NAM for 0Z Thursday morning. Look, 36 hours Friday morning. All the snow is in the mountains. See this? That's where all of it is. But if we take a look and we go 12 hours later, this is now early Saturday morning after the storms come to an end, and we can see the huge snow amounts have changed here. So you can clearly see this is Friday morning, 7 a.m., and this is Saturday at 4 a.m. So we don't see a lot of snow in New York, as you can see, and again, this may be overdone, but notice it also has that plume of snow into Philly. See that? So Allentown a little bit, and again, all the big snows in the high elevation, all the mountains. So that's a pretty strong signal. Those areas are going to get slammed. Now this is the GFS, the 18Z, and again, it's showing the same sort of thing. It doesn't have any snow into Philly, though again, it kind of has a little plume of wet snow down in this area. But New York City, as you can see, is all clear. It's all snow. Not much for Boston, Connecticut, Long Island, all in the interior and here in the mountains. Now let's take a look at the next event. Now this is the 12Z GFS ensemble. It drops underneath the blocking pattern again. Here's the block, so you can see where it is exactly in the model. Here's the blocking feature here. This is the feature which came over from Greenland, okay? In this direction. So this next system is forced to go underneath it, and it develops into a coastal low of some type with some sort of intensity. Too early to know yet for certain, because this is dependent upon what happens with the system on Friday and Saturday. This is the European. Notice the low is further to the north. The block's a little weaker. I'm not sure if that's correct. But if we look at the new, this is the 18Z GFS, and again, this is the 18Z, so this is, a little twitchy. But notice the low is here. It's got snow over Baltimore, Richmond, DC, that sort of thing, Central Virginia, and there it is on the morning of March 8th. Here's the low moving off the coast, and again, you can see the snow wrapping in this way. I don't know if this is correct. It's just a possibility. We just have to wait and see what the other models are showing. Now this is the GFS ensemble from 18Z, and you can see it's got a significant cluster of low activity right in this area here, and again here, on March 6th and into the March 7th, or I should say March 7th into March 8th. So, but maybe it means something, maybe it doesn't. Now the European, this is the operational European. You can see the lows on the coast further north, so it's mostly rain for the big cities and maybe some snow inland. And the European ensemble is not that impressive with the system either. It has a bit of a low here. You can see a number of different plots here showing some sort of diffuse low, but notice they're not compacted at all. And the same sort of thing here, big, large, diffuse uncertainty here with the European ensemble. So again, in summary, to finish off the discussion, The one from March 6th or 7th or March 7th or 8th still looks like a possibility, but it depends on what happens March 1st or 2nd. And again, in our view, probably you're going to see your best snow in the mountains here, northeast Pennsylvania, Binghamton, all the Catskills, the Five Finger Lakes, much of the Hudson Valley, in western Massachusetts, and far northwest Connecticut. There may be some snow before it ends in Boston and New York, coastal Connecticut, and maybe a couple inches into Philly. They get this little wraparound finger, which is showing up on all the models, this sort of thing. So we'll see if that actually happens or not. This is meteorologist DT from weatherist.com. I'll talk to you soon and see you on the Facebook page.